Hey everyone, it's me, T. Krulos.
And Heidi Erickson.
Hi Heidi.
Hi, how you doing, T?
I'm good. This week went by. This week went hella quickly.
It really did. I can't believe that it's already Tuesday. Here we are. In August, summertime is like we're approaching spooky season. Here it
Yeah,
comes. I can hear the bats
right.
already. It's very exciting.
Yeah, yes. So we're doing another episode that's going to be out next week, and then we're going to take a short break,
Mhm.
and we'll be back in September. And like you say, this is the prime season, September, October. Are you kidding me? There's so much going on.
Yeah.
So last week we mentioned that Milwaukee Paranormal Conference is happening September 24th through the 26th. There's a really nice Sunday activity day on the 26th. We're doing a couple of events that we've partnered with Forest Home Cemetery for. There's a really cool yoga in the cemetery that people can start the day off with. And a tour at 3 p.m. that is a guide to learning about art and symbolism on gravestones,
That's
which is
really
also very
cool.
cool. But I did not even know this. I mean, Forest Home is just such a cool place,
Mhm.
and I did not know this. But there's actually a honey that is made from bees from
Yeah.
Forest Home Cemetery.
Yeah, there
It's
totally
called
is.
it's called Silent City Honey, and
I
it's
love that name. That's so creepy. I love it. I
It's
love it.
a very goth looking label too. It's got
It is.
one of the kind of creepy angel statues from the cemetery
Well, I
right on
mean,
the label.
they know their audience.
Yeah.
If you're like, man, I can't wait to get my hands on some graveyard honey, you don't want like a little cartoon bee on that shit. You want a skull and crossbones. Like you're not just putting that in your tea. Or maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe that's how you roll. I like that though. I'm gonna get some. I can't wait to order some. I think it's gonna be super awesome because they do. They keep bees at Forest Home. Also, did you know that Forest Home is an arboretum? It's qualified as an arboretum.
I just read that today. I did
Isn't
not
that
know that.
fascinating?
And it's
So
the only
there's
one in Milwaukee.
But see, that's the only arboretum in Milwaukee because they have
Yeah.
over 100 different kinds of trees there. I
Yeah.
just think it's fascinating. It's super fascinating.
I
It
didn't
really
even
is.
know exactly what the hell a arboretum is, but
It's
I
a
guess
tree
what
zoo.
yeah, that's what they were saying. It's kind of, it people can go there and look firsthand at some of these trees that might be hard to find. So
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool. I love it, and I can't wait to taste the honey. Like I'm kind of curious. I think somebody on the Teas Week page was saying that it was equivalent to eating people. I don't think that's I don't think that's actually true because I mean
yeah,
like it's true that things rot and things grow from things that rot and then the bees make honey from the flowers of things that grew from things that rot. But like
yeah,
everything we eat
right, exactly. Then a
ev-
hamburger would be made out,
yeah,
same thing.
100%. 100%. It totally is. There are actually bees that make honey out of meat. That's real life.
Oh,
There's a kind of bee in Africa that does not eat nectar. It eats meat and it makes a honey, and the honey is apparently very earthy. Probably chewy too, I would think. Kind of gross, but that's the thing.
yeah.
That's the thing that they do, bees. Cool, great.
Yeah, well, I want to get some of the Silent City honey, not only
Yeah.
for myself, but I think it would be a really good thing to include, like in a prize package
Oh yeah.
or something like that for the Paracon.
Yeah,
Also,
definitely.
this needs to go to the next step. You know what would be freaking awesome? Some cemetery mead made from
Yes.
the cemetery honey.
I think that's a great idea. I definitely want cemetery mead. I definitely would like just the honey in general to do various workings with, and then you make cemetery bread and cemetery cookies, delicious cemetery marzipan in the shapes of little headstones. But yeah, definitely the mead. I think that's a good. Somebody around town's got to get on top of that. Surely there's some brewer somewhere who's like, like they must know. They must know. I hope that they do. Yay, that's so great. I wonder, do you know like the sales of that honey, does it like benefit some charity or does it go back to Forest Home, or like how does that work?
I don't know. We should find that out because
Yeah,
I mean, either way, it's awesome. If it's going to a good cause, then of course it's even more spectacular and
yeah,
tasty.
yeah. I think we should have a cook-off tea where people have to use the cemetery honey to make delicious treats. Haunted Rice Krispie bars.
That
So,
would be cool.
I
You
don't
could
know.
set up like a kitchen tent in the cemetery and have the competition right there
Yeah,
at the source live, like one of those,
yeah.
like the British baking show or whatever.
I wonder if they would let me like have some available at the witches fair, and then I can sell their creepy honey for them. The witches will love that shit. I
Oh yeah,
certainly
yeah.
loved the notion. They'd be like, "This is so great, honey and cemetery at the same time. That's like killing two birds with one stone. That's one less step on my list of things to do." Mm.
Yeah, it'll go great in any potion.
Indeed, absolutely. Hot toddies, potions, hexes, anything you want. Love it. Well,
Yeah,
that's good and exciting news. Milwaukee is a very weird place. We do weird things all the time. I love that we have our own cemetery honey from our arboretum graveyard. Fabulous.
yeah.
What else? What else is going on? What else is
Well,
happening?
the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference is slowly coming together, piece by piece.
Mm.
I've been busy lately, but I take a little time here and there to try to square some things out. And I'm excited about this one. So on that activity day, Sunday, September 26th, we got the Forest Home stuff going on. The Witches Fair, of course, is going 1 to 6 at Fakelandia Brewing. And I also helped set up a nice little sort of one-off thing where a local author named Gavin Schmidt is going to give a presentation on his books. And his books are all about the Milwaukee Mafia, which has
Nice.
a very interesting and bloody history. So he wrote a book literally called The Milwaukee Mafia, and he's continued that research on in a couple of other books. So he's going to be giving a presentation at the Bayview Community Center, which is a nice little space that's often overlooked right on Oklahoma Avenue here
Sure.
in the Bayview neighborhood of Milwaukee. So his presentation isn't really paranormal, but what I found from like doing ghost tours and other stuff is that people that are into ghost stories are also real interested in the mafia because the mafia has created quite a few ghosts themselves.
Indeed.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
so they
They
kind
should.
of they blend
They should.
together well.
They should get a kickback from the paranormal community for sure because they're out there doing the work. Also, like, there's a couple of places in Milwaukee that legit are supposed to be haunted by the spirits of mobsters who have passed away under unseemly circumstances. So it'd be interesting just to kind of get that information as well and see how all those things are connected to each other. I love this. I love the mafia. I mean, I don't actually like love the mafia. I love the idea of the mafia in the past in the city of Milwaukee. I think that's great.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Um,
yeah, the Paracon's gonna be so dope. There's so much cool stuff going on. I'm so into it. You guys are all gonna
yeah,
be there. It's you guys. You remember that it's free, the Paracon. You just go there and people will talk to you about mobsters and cemeteries and UFOs and ghosts and Bigfoots. And all you have to do is show up and eat some chips. It's gonna be fucking amazing. Okay, well
okay.
that's us. That's Milwaukee. But the world is big and weird. There's a lot of weird things going on. What should we talk about first, T? Holy crap, we got a bunch of stories this week.
Yeah. One last thing I'm going to mention, by the way, MilwaukeeParacon.com. You can see our lineup, or at least what we've confirmed so far. But yeah, there is a lot going on. So I don't know. We could start with this one. Wait, first I need to get my banner ready to go here. Okay, here it is. Wisconsin, Scotland, or Florida. And this one is going to be obvious immediately. It's the Loch Ness Monster, spotted for the 8th time this year.
It would have been pretty dope if he'd been spotted in Florida, though. To be fair, like
That'd
he's
be
where doing what now? It's crazy. Yeah, I saw that. I saw. Okay, so apparently, here's the thing I totally didn't know. they keep like an official record of
Yeah.
all of the sightings of Nessie every single year, going all the way back to the first record of like a sighting of this beast that was like in the 14th century or something like that.
Hmm.
So those are all connected. And the article I read said with varying degrees of legitimacy, which I thought was a very polite way of being like, some of it's just somebody was drinking straight out of the bottle, but like, whatever. So these two people is a father and daughter, right? They were walking,
Yes. This was
and
July 19th, so not too
yeah.
long ago.
Mm. And then it said they saw like ripples in like a hump moving against, whoa, holes in time. Are we together, T? What's going on?
Yeah, you froze
There's
up for a second there.
there's a slight hole in the space-time continuum in my basement, and it does occasionally make the internet reception somewhat spotty. We just work with it. We're just gonna keep going. So they saw a ripple and a hump in the water from the top of a hill. That is what I read.
Yeah, they were doing a hike along the loch there because it's beautiful.
Sure.
And yeah, something mysterious swimming in the water below them. They made the sighting at 3:20 p.m. That can go into the database and they can see what time the most frequent sightings are.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so but they didn't actually like see like a head or
No, they said it looked like a turtle's back. It was black in color with a green tinge to it.
okay.
So
Okay. I don't doubt these people. I'm sure they saw something and it had to be something unusual. Otherwise they wouldn't have been like, we just saw the Loch Ness monster. But that doesn't seem super compelling to me. Like, I don't think I would report it to the authorities unless I straight up saw a plesiosaur head come out of the water. Like, it would need to turn and look dead at me, like right in the face, and open its big lizardy mouth so that I could see it had real tonsils before I was like, yep, that's the Loch Ness monster, all right. Otherwise, I don't know. Like, what if it was a turtle?
yeah, I think a lot of these stories really get hyped by the British media, and we have a couple other stories that
Yeah.
tie into the UK this episode. There's a lot going on there this week, I guess.
It really is.
But their media is something I'm still trying to wrap my head around because it's very hype. It's a lot of craziness. So
The
Loch Ness
tabloids, they are no
Monster,
joke.
yeah, the tabloids are just fucking insane.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those tabloid reporters practice what they themselves call the dark arts. And that involves shady things like tapping people's phones,
Oh my God.
hiding in their garbage cans.
The dark arts.
They've like one celebrity was having a baby, so one of these reporters dressed as a doctor and then snuck into her room and photographed her
Oh
and her
my
baby.
God.
So they're pretty hardcore about, getting sensational stories, and they're definitely not above like making a mountain out of a molehill and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, okay, yeah, like, all right. Like, obviously, that is the tackiest shit in the universe, and there's a reason they call it the dark arts, and it's not just because of Harry Potter. It's terrible, and I think that should be totally legit because it's not illegal. Like, they're not technically breaking the law. They're not doing anything. Like, they're just being dickheads. I think that paparazzi should be able to do any kind of shit that they want to do, but only if it's a full contact sport. Like, if I had just had a baby and a dude came in and said, like, because when you have a doctor coming in right after you had a baby, there's the parts of you that they have to check after you've had a baby are not parts you want to share with somebody at all, especially not at that moment in time. And he had whipped out like a camera. I would
Yeah.
have beaten that man to death with my baby. I'd have taken the baby by the ankles and just beaten him to death to a bloody pulp. And I think that should be what it is. I think that you should be able to do anything that you want just so long as you keep in mind that the person that you're paparazziing,
It was gonna, strike back.
like, if they catch you, they can kill you to death. And like, so that's just, you want to practice the dark arts. That's what fucking happens. You get dementors, bitch. Okay. I also read, you told me this, that in Scotland, apparently, I lived in Scotland. Did I tell you that ever? I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
What a dreamy isle. What a charming place. Scotland is not England at all, not even remotely close. And I think that people get this idea that people who are from the UK are like, like proper, like they drink tea and shit and eat crumpets or whatever. No, absolutely not. Scotland is one of the weirdest places in the universe. I'm sure it's not as strange as Wales, but I've never been to Wales, so I couldn't say. Apparently, this man was arrested because he's 45 years old. He's 45 years old. They made a point of saying in the article that he was unmarried and no shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Shit. Like, hey, ladies, this guy is totally available. They arrested him because he was, I think it's a tourist spot, actually. It's not like he was all up in the woods or nothing. Like, he was just down the beach from a bunch of other people who were eating popsicles and like just chilling on the beach. He had his pants down around his ankles, and he had a bunch of French fries wedged into his butt crack. Yeah. And the seagulls were eating the French fries out of his nasty butt crack because seagulls don't care. A French fry is a French fry. And he was apparently, what did they say? They said something about the delighted noises he was making every time a seagull pulled a French.
I got the article here. The headline is in huge, huge letters.
Well, it should be.
And it reads, "Fries in arse, seagull perv walks free." Great headline. Great headline already. But yeah, here's the line that you're talking about. Witnesses saw up to 12 seagulls pecking at the oddball's posterior while Green yelped with delight. That's his name.
Wow.
Sebastian Green.
Wow. They said too that, okay, first of all, this guy didn't have any charges pressed against him because Scotland is a free country and you can do what you want with your arse, I guess. But they said they took him to the hospital because his butt was all chewed up by seagulls. Like, this wasn't a delicate, like, surgical act that they were doing. This was not ticklish. Like, these seagulls were chewing his ass trying to get these French fries, and he was having the time of his life.
Well, so yeah, it's like vicious.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to judge Mr. Green. Mr. Green wasn't hurting nobody but himself. Those seagulls already had no shame. Seagulls don't care about anything like that. They'll eat anything out of anybody's butt crack. It doesn't matter. But that does seem like it seems like there's better ways to have a good time. was my final like, because he had to think about that, right? Or did he? Was he just walking around with a bag full of French fries, and he looked at the French fries, and he looked at the seagulls, and he looked at the French fries, and he looked at the seagulls, and then he was like, I bet these seagulls would take these French fries right out of my ass. Like, what was the logic? What was I just don't understand the train of thought that led him there. And they don't quote Mr. Green at all. They didn't interview this guy. Jeez. Where your dark arts at now, guys? You didn't interview that dude?
Yeah. You think that after something like that, they would be hiding in the bushes outside of his house.
Right. Where's the dude who dressed like a doctor? The guy was in the, you're not going to, there should be paparazzi just hanging out at the hospital. And the first time somebody said, there's a guy here with multiple seagull ass lacerations. You should have been all over that. Oh, guys.
Yeah.
Sad.
But this is not a great week for guys sticking stuff in their butt, because you also found this story about a guy who stuck an eel in his butt.
He did. And I looked into it, T, because I am a glutton for punishment. And here's what I found out about eels in your ass. For medicinal purposes, not for recreational purposes. Mr. Green was not trying to cure himself of any ailment except being bored on a Tuesday, which I hope he figured out. So this guy in China, name undisclosed for obvious reasons, was constipated. He was having a hard time doing the do. He was struggling to get to number 2, and he was very uncomfortable. He was constipated for 1 day. I would have to be constipated for a lot longer than that before I went to the fucking live eel solution. For, like, I'd have maybe like some fruit cocktail.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
don't know.
there's a lot of remedies for that don't involve sticking an animal with teeth into your
Like,
butt. So
right, because you like no matter what, he had to find the live eel and then stick it into his butt. So,
yeah,
like, I imagine the time and effort that he put into that, he could have easily found a box of Raisin Bran. That's just my
right.
thinking.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently there's a folk remedy, and this is not just in China. Apparently, this folk remedy exists in other places as well, but there's a folk remedy that says the way to cure your constipation is to put a live eel up your butthole. So this guy took an 8-inch eel, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like, I don't know, man, that's
It's big
big
enough.
enough, big enough to be problematic.
Yeah.
Stuck it up his butt. But of course, like, he didn't interface with the eel and like explain what he was. So I guess the eel just didn't know that what he was supposed to do was cure this guy's constipation, because instead of curing his constipation, he swam right up his old poop chute and bit him in the colon, which had to be more uncomfortable than constipation, I should think. I'm not an expert on constipation or getting bit in the colon, but anyway, he bit this guy in the fucking colon, and the guy had to go to the hospital. My favorite part of this story, I do feel bad for this person, because I'm sure like some grandma told him to just stick an eel up his butt, and he was like, okay, grandma, like he didn't question her. Was that the reason that he stuck the eel up his butt to begin with is because he was too shy to go to the doctor. He's shy.
Well, you might not want to do something that is absolutely probably going to land you in the emergency room.
Yeah. Okay, but it turns out that this is a thing that happens all over the world. And last year, another guy came into the hospital in Indonesia, I want to say, and he had done the same thing. He had actually stuck 2 eels up his bum, and the eels had proceeded to just go hog wild and just like chew this guy to bits. And when the doctors like opened him up, like it was just a mess in there. It was just a bad time. And they found the 2 eels like resting in the bottom of his abdomen. They pulled the eel out alive, by the way. They pulled the eel out alive. They pulled the 2 eels out. And they're good at pulling the eels out alive, which I think is really sweet of them. I don't know if I would, be working that hard to preserve the precious life of the eel this guy stuck up his butt, but they did. So that's nice. But yeah, this actually happens semi-regularly, because any place that there are eels, there's some folk medicine remedy that says, where eels will go? Right up your butt.
People are just obsessed with sticking stuff up their butt.
And
I
like, I
had
get it, but
I had a bad earwax problem, and so I was trying to use a Q-tip, and this doctor was like, "Hey, let me give you some advice, dude. All right, don't stick anything in your ear that's bigger than your elbow." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "It's kind of a joke." I was like, "All right, I don't get it." But anyway, that's my advice to people: don't stick anything in your butt that's bigger than your elbow.
yeah. Definitely not for medicinal purpose. I just don't. Nothing with a face should go into your butt, probably. I mean, no, wait, that doesn't really work either. Shit. No eels, goddammit. Don't put fish in your butt. Fish in your butt is a problem. That's not something you do on purpose. That's when you're having a bad day. You're like, what happened? Did you get fired? Did you get a flat? No. A fish was in my butt. And people are like, oh, that does suck. Because that's the worst thing that can happen to you. Just, ugh. No, thank you.
Hey,
Okay, so,
look who has a
oh,
comment here. It's
oh.
Shane. Shane's got a few comments. We're just catching up, Shane. But this one says, "Get me the eel tank stat." We have an eel tank? You spent 8 years in medical school and you don't know about the eel tank? I wonder, do you think is this something where people talk about this in medical school? Like, hey, just
Well,
so you know,
sure.
once in a while a dude will stick an eel up his butt. And you might need to be
My
prepared for that.
my understanding is that most people who do medical stuff have just a whole collection of stories of things people have stuck in their butt, just in general, just butt sticking stuff. But I mean, that's got to be I don't know, because there was that whole period of time where people were like, you should stick a gerbil up your butt or whatever. And like, do you remember that? Like 15, 20 years ago, they're like, you're
Yeah,
going to stick a tube up your butt, paper towel tube, and then you stick a hamster up the tube and the hamster goes into your butt. And then that one guy allegedly ended
right.
up,
That was the big urban legend was that Richard Gere had done that.
right. And they said this guy had done it, but the hamster went up the guy's butt and the other guy couldn't see up the butt tube. So he took a lighter and he went to the butt tube to try and see where the hamster was. And the lighter, you've sat around a campfire with a bunch of dudes before. You know what happens when you put a lighter near your butthole sometimes.
Right.
Apparently, the lighter lit a pocket of methane, which then ejected the hamster out of the butthole through the butt tube with such force that it broke the man's nose
Hmm.
and his cheekbone. And he was grievously injured by this hamster situation.
That's a great
I wasn't
story that
there.
both of those people have.
I never thought I was ever going to have to tell that story ever again in my life, but here we are. But here we are. Okay, well,
Mhm.
that's all very exciting and highbrow, and I'm really glad that we as intellectuals have discussed it at length.
Yes.
Spectacular.
Yeah. So I got a story. Fortunately, this doesn't involve putting this animal up someone's butt or
Oh,
attempting to.
oh.
But there's this website I really like. It's called The Debrief, and we had Ryan Sprague is one of their writers. He's a UFO expert. He was on the show, and they write about UFOs and mysterious technology and stuff. But they had a think piece that they published, which I love. I read so much stuff that's either like misinformation, garbage, or really serious stuff. But this is a think piece where this guy is not claiming this is true. He's just speculating, and his theory is forget extraterrestrials. What if UFOs were piloted by dolphins? Written by a writer named Jazz Shaw on thedebrief.org. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. But um, it's an interesting idea. Maybe UFOs are being flown by dolphins. Who knows?
Well, so like what he was suggesting is that extraterrestrials on other planets, intelligent life could be any kind of looking thing. Could be dolphins, could be fucking Shar-Peis, you don't know, could be anybody, could be anything, right? Is that what he was
Right.
saying? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like dolphins are super duper smart. There's been a lot of fiction where dolphins were actually the smartest creatures on the planet, and we were just not as cool as we thought we were. I think we were talking about this the other day, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason that people like will say things about insects too, like this idea of these insectile extraterrestrials, which makes a lot of sense because insects can survive very harsh heat, and a lot of them are super duper intelligent. I mean, insofar as a hive mind, if you will. So I guess that makes sense too. I would be cool with dolphins. I don't know. I feel like dolphins, everybody thinks they're super cute and adorable, but the word on the street is dolphins are actually kind of assholes. Like they beat each other up, and like dolphin is the only animal a shark is scared of because apparently dolphins will like swim at sharks really really fast and then hit them in the gills
Hmm.
with their noses, which is just like bone, it's just rocky bone, and
Yeah,
kill them
yeah, because they can't
just,
breathe. Yeah.
yeah, because they can't breathe, just to be assholes. It's not like they eat sharks or even like they're protecting the rest of their dolphin pals. They will actively seek out sharks just to fucking murk them just to be like, hey, what you guys want to get a snack? Like, you want to go to a game? No, let's just go find a shark and just beat him to death with our faces. So maybe it wouldn't be good if dolphins were aliens. I don't think they have the right temperament, but
Yeah.
it is good to be put in our place insofar as being a primate goes, because primates are the coolest way to
Yeah.
be a person.
Yeah. So I posted this dolphin think piece in the Tease Weird Week Facebook group, and some people had this reaction, same as Shane here.
Yeah.
Douglas Adams, of course, there's a great scene in the Hitchhiker books where the dolphins all take off from planet Earth
Yeah, they're
because
like,
they
peace.
know the end is nigh, so they're out of there.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day about how there are probably a lot of animals who are just as smart as us or smarter, but the way we measure intelligence is by how good you are at building giant edifices and going to war with people and doing shit like that. And maybe dolphins are way smarter than us, and they just don't understand why we spend all our time making processed cheese. And like, like that probably seems real stupid to them. Like they probably have way cooler dolphin business for sure. And then you had the Star Trek thing where the whales were like super smart, and like the only people who could save the planet from a giant scary cigar were these whales they had to go back into the 80s to go get. That was I love Star Trek. I really do. That's the dumbest movie in the entire universe. Like, we're gonna whip around the sun. We're gonna go back to the 80s. What does that even come? So yeah, I guess. Like, what was this? Just like he was just postulating this, or did he offer some scientific evidence?
He didn't offer scientific evidence, but he, pointed out some things that dolphins actually have a longer history than humans do, and at one point they were land creatures before they moved to the sea, and who knows what they were doing in those millions of years?
Right.
They might have, and he's trying to. A lot of the article was like devil's advocate type things, like, wouldn't we know that and maybe not, maybe they have an underwater civilization that we don't know about. So I think it was this kind of him having fun trying to speculate whether it could be true or not like necessarily claiming
Yeah.
it was true, because there is one point in this article where let me see what he says. So yeah, he says, so he's asking himself the question, so do you seriously think this could be true? And he says, not really, but that was the entire object of the thought experiment in the first place. Talking about UFOs and who or what might be piloting them, if they are piloted at all, is fascinating for so many of us. So that was kind of his inspiration on that.
You know what I think is really funny and interesting too is that most regular people kind of figure that scientists and archaeologists and historians pretty much have a pretty good bead on like the shit that went down in our distant past. But actual scientists who actually study this stuff will be the first to tell you that we don't know
Yeah.
fuck about shit. There's
Yeah.
whole giant chunks, thousands of years of time upon which we've speculated purely based on one tiny piece of pottery. For that
Yeah.
whole part of the world, we just guessed. We were like, it's probably this,
Yeah.
which, like we don't know.
Yeah, and it's really that's a big problem with like conspiracy theory, because science will go into something and they'll say, we've studied this and we have a hypothesis, and
Right.
it might not be true. We might get new information and it might change, and it's not very confident. Conspiracy theory, on the other hand, they'll be like, I'm going to tell you a fact. Cell phones cause brain cancer,
Facts.
and the Illuminati is behind it, and they're very confident. So that really appeals to some people, because they seem like they're very confident in what they're talking about, whether or
Yeah.
not it's true.
Yeah, I think Mark Twain said that the problem with the world is that fools were full of confidence and geniuses were full of doubt, because they knew that they didn't know very much about the world. And yeah, like you don't know. But that's the other thing about conspiracy theories too, is if one scientist found one dolphin skeleton with a necktie on, they'd be like, well, that proves it. Dolphins obviously ruled the world for a period of time. This dolphin was clearly a CPA, so they had advanced mathematics. And like, it would be a hypothesis. It would be just like this guy's, like, you know, thought experiment that he was doing, just like noodling about what might have been. And somebody somewhere would be like, absolutely, we told you guys, dolphins, they rule the world. And like, that's what they would go on, this one little tiny thing. Like all those wacky doctors, like, remember Trump dug up like that one doctor?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You remember that crazy person?
Yes.
And
Oh sure. Yeah, yeah.
right,
I forget her name, but she believed that, like, there was like demon sperm was causing like
right,
defects, and she had all
right,
sorts of crazy conspiracies, but she was wearing a lab coat, so
right.
it's
She
like,
was a
hey, she,
doctor.
right.
Like, I guess she's smarter than me. And I'm like, I mean, she has information retention that's pretty high. That doesn't mean she is reasonable or sane in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, like, we don't know. And if somebody tomorrow came to me and they were like, guess what some scientists just did? They put a dolphin in a spaceship, and that dolphin flew that spaceship better than any astronaut ever did. I'd be like, no shit. Like, I at least, I would at least, the world is so strange and weird. I'd at least be like, oh, I'd like to read that article. I would like at least want to know it, because you never know what scientists are doing. Scientists this week, for example, Google scientists. It's crazy to me, okay, that Jeffrey Bezos, I call him Jeffrey because we're so close. Jeffrey Bezos, who recently launched himself into space like a dolphin, maybe we should call him Flipper from now on, has a team of scientific minds that he pays to do stuff uh, that rival probably a lot of the biggest governments. The United States government cuts funding to research and scientific discovery all the time. They're just like, nope, no money for you. We need that for the biggest, giantest, screamingest bullet with an eagle painted on it we can possibly purchase. But Jeffrey Bezos has guys at Google who are working on quantum computing, which is some fascinating shit. Right now, as far as we know, the Chinese have the biggest, bestest, fastest quantum computer. Are you familiar at all with quantum computing? That sounds like some sci-fi shit, right?
No, no, I would not claim to be. It's still something I don't quite understand.
The basics of it is that it's a computer that can do calculations about 6 billion times faster than the fastest supercomputer we currently have. The implications of that mean that it can find answers to things that we never would have thought of, and that it can develop super fast, super sophisticated artificial intelligence like that. Um, Hypothetically, you can do lots of super amazing things with quantum computing. There's also scary science fiction stuff that could happen with quantum computers, but we have them. They exist now. The problem with quantum computers is they require a ridiculous amount of energy, just a preposterous amount of energy, and near sub-zero temperatures, because they put out so much energy that for a while the only way they thought that they could have a quantum computer was to have it in space, because it's the only place cold enough that the computer could function without melting or exploding or in some other incendiary way just going kablooey. At Google, they claim, now this is just what they think, that they figured it out how to make time crystals, which definitely sounds like something you would find on the Starship Enterprise. Um,
Yeah.
time, time crystals are a source of infinite energy, in that they are a crystal that is both one form and another simultaneously. Whenever it uses itself up, it just goes back to being whole again, because it's never not one thing or the other. Uh, they thought it was impossible. They thought it was ridiculously impossible for that to be a thing. But the discovery of time crystals, if that's a thing that really exists, means that, for example, we could see functioning warp drive within our lifetimes. It would be possible to move between star systems because we would have that infinite, unlimited potential energy that we just didn't have available to us before. And of course, it means that they can build bigger, better, faster, smarter, hopefully not angrier quantum computing and artificial intelligence. It essentially would move our technology as a planet ahead like 500 years, just like that. And Google has that technology right now. Jeff Bezos has his little mitts on that technology. Old Jeffrey does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time crystals.
Time crystals.
That that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look more into that. I'm working
Please
on
do.
a writing project about time travel at the moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The reason that they call them time crystals is because they essentially exist in the past and the future simultaneously.
wow.
Right? It's fucking heavy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Jeff Bezos has got time. So, I mean, obviously, Jeff Bezos is okay. There's just no way he can avoid becoming a supervillain now, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's got the fucking time crystals. Like, give me a break, dude. Like, that's just,
He's
there's
got
no
the
way.
time crystals. He's like just going up to space for a joyride that costs like,
Yeah.
the equivalent of like 25 cents to him, probably,
Right.
is what he spent on
Yes.
a space trip.
There's
He's
no way he's not building a freaking moon laser right now.
not to rip on my bald friends, but he is he's looking kind of like Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a slight Dr. Evil happening for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff Bezos has the time crystals. He's going to load it up onto his dick rocket and build a freaking moon laser. You heard it here first.
Okay. Well, I think we're down to the last story that I know of, unless you got more. But you found this one. It's again, like I said, we got a lot of stuff from the UK going on. This one it takes place in Cornwall, which is in England, where they have their worm charming championships.
Aw, it's so cute, you guys. Why are all the names of all the places in the UK sound like the punchline to a dirty joke? Like every single one of them. Cornwall. Okay, buddy. Kiss your mother with that mouth. Yeah, okay. So in Cornwall, I really wanted to believe that this was some adorable ancient tradition going back to Druid times. It's
Uh-huh.
not. It's organized by this artist lady, which is really sweet and cute. And what happens is you get this rectangle of ground that's like, I think this is 6 feet or something like that square. And it's a contest to see who can bring the most worms to the surface without using anything mechanical or chemical. So the people who won brought the most worms to the surface by using a didgeridoo. So one dude had a
Nice.
big didgeridoo, and the other guys had like flutes. So it's just this great photograph of this dude with his giant didgeridoo and like 4 other dudes on the ground playing a flute into the dirt. Super cute. There was another guy who apparently one of the things that brings worms to the surface is the sound of falling rain, and that's why birds peck on the ground to simulate the
Oh.
sound of falling rain. So another dude dressed like a bird and did a seagull dance and pecked on the ground, which 2 points for creativity. Super great. Just they did a lot of things. And then you were judged on A, how many worms you brought to the surface in a period of time. B, style
Nice.
or
Yeah.
joie de vie or whatever. And also there was a special prize for the charming of the slowest worm,
Wow.
which absolutely sounds like a euphemism for some distinctly British sex move. I don't know what it is. There was no further information. But
uh,
if you are viewers, know how to charm the
if
slowest
you're a worm
worm.
charmer and you have more information, yeah. Yeah, the pictures look super fun. There's people like dressed up, and they're hitting gongs and playing different musical instruments and
Yeah.
and trying all sorts of stuff. We'll include a link to that article with the pictures in the show notes for this episode. But
Yeah. It just goes to show you guys that you can do any goddamn dumb thing you want. If you wake up tomorrow morning and you're like, I wonder how many people I could get to dress like a chicken at the same time, I guarantee you can do it. It's like, live your best weird life, you guys. Live your dreams. Reach for the stars. Nobody can stop you. The weirder it is, the more likely you are to pull it off, because the more people will be like, yes, I've been waiting my whole life to bust out this didgeridoo and show off my worm charming powers. You just never know. You never know. This it's Wisconsin. It could happen.
yeah, well, I mean, I think people are very thrilled to participate in kind of weird, unique stuff. Like
Yeah.
this last month, there was the River West 24 here in
So
Milwaukee,
cool.
which is this 24-hour bicycle race. But along the way, people do these bonus checkpoints, is what they're called. We were going to do a Tease Weird Week bonus checkpoint, but we just kind of ran out of time. This summer is hella busy. But
Yeah.
next year this will be fun. We'll think of something that we can make people do,
Yeah.
like charm worms or something like that. And these bonus checkpoints, people have to go to them, and they have to do like some task or challenge. Like there was one bonus checkpoint where they had a panel of judges, and you had to get up on stage, and you couldn't leave until you made one of the judges laugh.
Oh wow.
It was called Club Nuts Comedy Club. And I mean, I know definitely that there was one challenge where people got slapped across the face with a dildo. That was a
Oh sure.
challenge.
Sure.
All
Sure.
sorts of wild and crazy stuff. So we'll have to
Yeah.
think of something. And if you're listening and you've got a good idea for us, send it to us so we can put it under consideration.
No, I mean I'm not saying not to those.
Oh, here,
I'm just saying that. Oh, do we have one?
Shane said that he did a couple of the bonus checkpoints, and Giant Yahtzee was the one that stuck out to me. That sounds fun.
That does sound fun. That sounds
Yeah.
super fun. I would definitely like people to have to like dress up as Mothman with big red goggles and then have to complete a task dressed as Mothman in like big ridiculous wings or something while shrieking like a bat. I
Yeah.
just really want Mothman involved in some way.
There's like
And then,
hundreds of people that come through the bonus checkpoints
yeah.
too. So can you imagine 200 moth men on bicycles? That would be awesome.
I love it so much. I love it. And to be fair too, I've never participated in the River West 24, but I have bore witness to it. And I
Yes.
tell you, at like by the 18th hour of the River West 24, some of those kids were begging for a dildo slap in the face because all they could do to stay fucking conscious and vertical. God, poor babies.
Yeah,
Poor
I've never
babies.
participated because I can bicycle for about 1 hour, and that's about as far as I would make it. But I've often gone just to hang out because there's people hanging out everywhere. There's block parties set up all over the
Yeah.
neighborhood, so it's a very fun night, even if you aren't on a bicycle.
Yeah. I'd argue that it's better if you're not on a bicycle, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm not a hardcore competitor like that. Yeah. Yeah, we'll think of something. It should be something really weird, you guys. Please let us know your best thoughts on what the weirdest possible thing that we could have people do would be. It has to be something really noteworthy. Okay,
Oh,
I think that's all the stories I have. I don't think I have
yeah,
anything.
that's all the stories I have. I'm excited because the reason we're doing the show early today is I'm meeting up with my book, American Madness, is getting adapted into a documentary.
That's right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. There's a lot to do, but we're starting right now, and we're going to be working on it a little bit this evening. So we'll see what happens. I'll definitely be updating with news along the way, but looks like pretty solid, like it's going to happen. So
That's fantastic. That's super fantastic. Yeah, you're going to
cool.
be a star of the big screen, T.
Well, I don't know about that. Shane says it's fantastic. Thank you, Shane. So next week we're gonna do something exciting. We're not quite sure what yet, but we always figure it out. So
We do.
Tune in next week. We're gonna have the Tease Weird Week season 2 finale. And then we'll be back with a force in September with a ton of really cool shit going on.
Yep. It's gonna be good stuff.
Okay. I'll see you next week.
See you next week, T.
All right. Bye, everyone.